Hello, welcome to the Wundef Show. Today we are going to talk to one very important man in Obuasi here. Not only is he important, but he has done a lot for the young people of Obuasi, and he has risen up against all the odds and is currently impacting a lot of lives in Obuasi. He is in the person of Mr. Richard Kojo Ellimah, who is the Executive Director for Center for Social Impact Studies. He is a researcher, he is also a journalist, he is a communication specialist, he is also a development consultant and a natural resource policy analyst. You are welcome to the show, Mr. Kojo Ellimah.
Thank you.
So tell us, fighting for the vulnerable in the community, how has the fight been?
It's been tough. It's been really tough. And the difficulty has to do with our understanding of who the vulnerable people are.
Okay.
Usually, you must be vulnerable yourself to understand the challenges they face.
Okay.
So if you are not one of them, most likely you might not take their fight that seriously.
Okay.
And that is the problem we have. For a very long time, if you check our history, we haven't had a very robust, system that protects the vulnerable in the society.
Okay.
We have a social welfare system that is virtually comatose, if not dead.
Okay.
So it's more like we do rhetoric with support for the vulnerable.
Okay.
We talk about them, we write about them, the president gives speeches about them. We have a whole ministry that is supposed to take care of them. But essentially, when you come down to the individual vulnerable person, I mean, nothing much happens in his or her life. So that has been the challenge.
And do you think it's because, as you said earlier on, is because the people who are making policies to favor the vulnerable themselves have never been in their shoes before? So the policies they bring about might not necessarily suit the vulnerable in the community.
Not necessarily. It will help if you have one of your own over there doing the policy and implementation for you. Okay. But then it doesn't necessarily have to be always people with that kind of vulnerability who have to be at the top. You need somebody with that understanding, that clear understanding. That understanding is what we are not having. So we have people with all kinds of degrees, they've studied social work and all that. And on paper, you may think that they will be in the best position to support the vulnerable in our society. But clearly, when they talk, you understand they do not have that kind of understanding. They do not appreciate the complexities of the lives of people with that kind of vulnerabilities. So eventually, they get the policy direction wrong. And eventually, you have a very chaotic kind of system, support system for the vulnerable in our society.
So what happened? What pushed you to start fighting for those vulnerable in our communities? Was there any particular incident that happened and you realized that no, these people need others who will fight for them?
I guess probably I'm one myself. I am the person you also describe as a vulnerable person. I mean, if you take the wider definition of who a vulnerable person is, probably I'm one of them. And growing up, I also faced a lot of the challenges that the other vulnerable people are facing now. I faced a lot of rejection at some points. I was told, no, you can't do this because of your situation. No, you can't go here because of your condition, and so on. So I faced all these obstacles probably because of my vulnerability. So growing up, going through all of these challenges, and then I managed to go through school. I managed to get into a position where I have a voice. So the natural thing is that I need to use my voice to support people who cannot speak up and those who have a vulnerability but are challenged in a way because they do not have a voice.
All right, talking about having challenges during your childhood, let's go back. Where did you start your education? And where do you even come from?
Well, I am an Egyimah from Kikam in the Elembele district. But I was born in Obuasi here. In fact, my parents were born in Obuasi as well. I was born specifically at the Quabrafoso Clinic I'm not sure it's still there.
Okay.
Yeah, and that is where I was born. And at that time, we were staying at Tutuka. So I stayed in Tutuka for a while.
Okay.
And then moved to Central, Obuasi Central. And then moved to New Suta. And then from New Suta to
Why
Estate.
they moving? Was it your father who was moving? Or?
Yeah, my mother.
Your mother? Okay.
I never stayed with my father. I mean,
okay.
Yeah, we do not have that relationship. I mean,
okay.
because of the circumstances of my birth and so on. Yeah, so that relationship doesn't exist. Okay. So I grew up with my grandmother and my mother and my aunties. We were a big family. Okay. And in our house, the word cousin did not exist. We didn't use that word cousin.
What were
you are either a brother or a sister.
Yes. Okay.
Because I grew up with those we would normally call cousins. Okay. I grew up with them. My auntie's children, my uncle's children, we all grew up in the same house together with my grandmother as a matriarch. Okay. And I schooled at Queen Egyimah International School, and the best school so far. And in fact, the first private school in the Adansi area, the whole Adansi area. Yeah. Okay. A heritage I'm so proud of. And then from there, I went to Christ the King Catholic Senior High School. Okay. And the circumstances of my going to Christ the King are quite interesting. Probably.
Before we even get to that point, let's look at before you even went to school. You were vulnerable. You had a disability. Okay. So, and we know issues surrounding disabled children in Ghana. Sometimes we think that, after all, if you send him to school, what good will come out from him? Did you have similar situation or instances when it was time for you to go to school?
The memories are quite hazy, you know, but I know that my family, particularly my grandmother and my aunties and my mother, I mean, they were very forward-looking and very progressive, you know, at that time. So they saw the value of education. Before I was even born, my elder sister and all my other brothers and sisters had gone through Queen Egyimah International School. Okay. They were there. So it was a natural progression that I would also go there. Okay. Then I had polio. I think I was about 3 years then. Okay. I'm not too sure of the age, but then around that time. And I remember spending so many months on end lying flat with all kinds of herbs. My leg was, you know, they wrapped my leg in some leaves and some herbs. Went to prayer camps somewhere, and then went to Nsawem Orthopedic Center, you know, and all that.
They were trying to fix.
Exactly, you know, fix it. Knowledge had not exploded back then like it is now. So they were doing everything possible to get me back on my feet. Okay. But then it was something that I had to live with. So what was the best way? I had to go to school. Okay. And it was a huge challenge for my mother and my grandmother particularly, because how was I going to cope? How was I going to cope?
Who was going to support you?
Exactly. Would somebody carry me to the school? Okay. You know, it was something unthinkable, you know. But then they braced, you know, the challenge and then took me to school.
But then where were you staying?
We are central, you know,
Central,
so very close
to
very close, just a few meters away from my school. And I think that also helped. So I went to school. I remember enduring a lot of taunts and name calling,
teasing,
yes,
from
and all that
your
from
colleagues.
Yes. Okay. Probably I was too young to assimilate all that, but then I remember it affected me a lot. Okay. And again, I lost the strength in the use of my right arm. So I remember I started writing with my left, and my teacher was so upset that I was writing with my left. So my madam, that time, then she forced me to still use my right. You know, I still tried using it, and I still write with the right now. But naturally, I wanted to use the left because that was where the strength had fallen. You know, so I wanted to use my left, but they didn't allow it, and I went on and then used the right, and I went through school. One incident stands out prominently in my mind, and I will never forget that incident. We had come to stay at I think New Suta, yeah, and I was in class 3 in a Queen Egyimah International School then. So we had a lot of dogs in the house. I was playing with one of the dogs and it bit me. I mean, a small dog, you know. It bit me, and then my grandmother was a fussy type. I mean, she wouldn't take chances, so she said, "Oh, let's go to the hospital." And the doctor who usually took care of my family was Dr. Ametam, the late Dr. Ametam of Amansai Clinic.
Amansai Clinic.
Yes. So we took a car, and then on our way, we made a stopover at Tutuka at a drugstore called Papanzima Drugstore. Apparently, he was my paternal grandfather, paternal, my father's father, you know. So we went there, and then the old man and my grandmother went into the sitting room, and I was outside, you know, sitting on a bench waiting for them to come out. So I heard them chatting. Honestly, I don't remember a word they said. I don't remember a single word, but I remember a line of conversation that came up. The man asking my grandmother, so how is the boy? He said, oh, he's fine, he's in school. And he's doing very well in school. He tops his class, you know, and all that. And then the man said, "Oh, but you are wasting your time. He will not amount to anything. I mean, school will not help him. Why don't you? I know somebody. I know a cobbler. I mean, he can go and learn shoemaking and you know that stuff."
How many years were you then?
Oh, I must have been 6 or 7 years.
And he wanted you to go and learn shoemaking at that time?
Yes. He predicted that I will come to no use. I will go to school and I will not get any job. Nobody will employ me, and I will just be walking about aimlessly with nothing doing, and
with already money wasted on your
exactly,
education.
and money would have been wasted. So why waste the money on education when you can take him to see an apprentice? Well, it hit me so hard. As young as I was, it hit me so hard. And even back then, I resolved that I had to do my best in school. I had to be the best I can be in order to prove the man wrong. Even at that young age.
Is he still alive?
No, he died. Incidentally, he died immediately I finished writing my O-level exams.
Oh, okay.
Yes, he died that was 94 or so, thereabout, yeah.
Wow.
So my grandmother angrily left the house. My grandmother said, "What are you talking about? I mean, the boy is doing so well in school. Why would we pull him out?" So she angrily left the room and then pulled me along, and then we went to see the doctor.
You continue from there, but you need to go for a very short break. You are watching the Wundef Show. I'm here with Mr. Richard Kojo Ellimah, a journalist, a researcher, a development consultant, and the Executive Director for Center for Social Impact Studies. Let's go for a very short break. We'll be back soon. Welcome back to the Wundef Show. We are still here with Mr. Richard Kojo Ellimah, the Executive Director for Center for Social Impact Studies. So, Mr. Ellimah, let's go back to your basic school. You completed Queen Egyimah which year?
I was 1989.
1989. Wow,
yeah.
that was really a long time ago.
Yes.
So, how did you end up at CKC? You said that something interesting happened.
Yes. In our days, we wrote the common entrance exams. And it was the main mechanism for selecting students into the so-called prestigious schools.
Okay.
So we we were encouraged to write it.
Okay.
When I was in stage 6 at Queen Egyimah International School. Unfortunately, back then, private schools could not register their students.
Okay.
So if you were a student in a private school, you had to register with a public school. So my colleagues, I think we were about 10 or slightly more, between 10 and 12 of us. We registered with the Presby school close to the stadium here. And we even started classes with them.
Okay.
Now, when the index numbers were released, strangely, none of us had our names in the list.
Oh.
I had chosen Infantipim School as my first choice. It's a school I had loved even before I started school. Because I had read a lot of the history of Ghana. I was a Methodist then, and I read about the arrival of the Methodist missionaries in Ghana and how they established Infantipim School and so on. And I had fallen in love with the school. So I really wanted to go to the school. So I had chosen Infantipim as my first choice. So when the news came that our names were not on the list, it was a huge blow, huge blow.
That means you couldn't write
exactly,
the exams.
Exactly. And it was the last common entrance exam because the JHS system was being introduced then. So we did our investigation and we realized the teacher who was supposed to have registered us absconded with the money. I mean, that is how come we couldn't write the common entrance exam.
The teacher was supposed to register you to write at Presby GHS. Presby school.
At Presby, middle school.
Has absconded the money.
Yeah, he absconded with the money.
He has run away.
He ran away with the money. So we couldn't even be located.
So he didn't even come back to teach again.
No.
Wow.
He just ran away.
Was
with
it
the
a
money.
huge amount then?
Yes,
because
I think
so. Money you can forgo your salary and then just run away with it.
I mean, we were about 10. We were about 10. So if you put all of them together, it was quite a substantial amount of money then.
Wow.
So that is how come my dream of going to Infantipim came crashing down.
So that means you have to now attend JHS.
No. What happened was I became very depressed. I remember for a whole week I was in my room. I wasn't eating. Wow. So down because it was like the whole world had crashed on me. And then somebody announced that Christ the King Secondary School, CKC, they were organizing the late entrance exam. In those days, late entrance exams were organized by those less endowed schools to get some students into the school. So I reluctantly, I mean, it had to take a lot of convincing. Also on condition that after first year, if I managed to do very well, they will use my results to get a transfer to my dream school, Infantipim or Prempeh College or somewhere, a school I loved. So I agreed to go and write. I went to write, I did very well, and then I started the school. First year I did so well, I topped the class. They say, we tried. They say, second year. Second year. By the time I was aware,
you have completed school.
I had finished 5 years of education in Christ the King. But the strange thing is that looking back, I do not regret going to Christ the King. I mean, it was the best experience I ever had.
Day student?
Yes, I was a day student. We didn't have any boarding facilities then. And we could walk from school to town. In the mornings, we will pick a taxi.
Which of the town are you talking about?
I'm talking about, I used to stay at Estate.
So you mean you walk from
Akapuroso to Estate, yes. A number of times, yes. In the mornings, we'll pick a car, go to school because we need to be in school early. But when we closed, we'll leisurely, my friends and I will leisurely decide to walk. And how long would that take?
Because from even...
we had a very funny way of doing it. And you wouldn't even know.
Talking, jokes.
So school closed at 2:30. We'll stay on for an hour. We did our private studies. And then at around 4, we will set off. When we got to Brabami Low Cost, there was a Yokegari seller there. We'll make a stopover.
You buy
eat Yokegari, take some water, fill our tummies, and then continue. We'll come to Kwabrafuso, eat some wache or kenke, I've forgotten. Eat again there. And then one of my colleagues stayed at Kwabrafuso, so he will leave us after eating and then go home. Then the rest of us will continue to ETS.
So who was living at the fattest location?
I think, the farthest at estate.
Okay.
So one stayed at Gausu. Yeah.
Okay.
So the Gausu gentleman will accompany me to my house and then continue back to Gausu. That's how we did it. And those days we used to wear white shirt and then khaki. And our white shirt turned into brown. We didn't have, dusty, the road was not asphalted then. Okay. It wasn't even coated. It was dusty. And between Akapurusu and Tutuka, you could count the number of houses. It was mainly bush. The place was bushy. Apart from the bungalows at low cost. You know, the entire area was bushy. Very few people were living around the area. And some of the fitting shops around there, a few of them were operating back then. So it was an interesting experience. We did that most of 5 years? 5 years, yes. Occasionally we walk, you know, sometimes to pick a car.
But most times, remember you walked?
Yes, we walked. It was a very interesting experience.
Wow. Yeah. Do you remember some of your mates? Are they still?
Yes. We are still very good friends.
Oh, okay.
Very, very good friends. I mean, I've been friends with them since '89. That's 31 years now. Yes. We are still friends. They visit my house. I visit them sometimes. Some are in Accra. Whenever I'm in Accra, I visit them. We talk all the time.
It's been great.
Yes.
Been great. So you completed 89. You said you went to.
I went to CeSIS in 1989.
89.
Yes.
And you lasted
to 1994.
4 years. So 1994.
Yes.
And then after
O levels, the next hurdle to clear was the A levels, advanced levels.
Okay.
So just like the entrance, common entrance, you have to select the school.
Okay.
I don't know what happened, and my interest in infanticum just vanished. When we were asked to choose a school, I decided to choose the school that was so far away from Obuasi. So I chose Accra Academy. I had never stayed in Accra, so I wanted the feel of Accra. Okay. So I chose Accra Academy. And I remember that was June 94. We finished the exam in June 94. So as at December 94, I was still home. The results had come. I had passed very well. And I was waiting for the school to write me a letter. It was the practice back then.
Yes.
So in December, a family friend who used to work at Anglo Gold Ashanti visited the house. And he asked her, when are you going back to school? Your colleagues have already reported to school. So I told him that, I'm waiting for the school to write. I said, no, these days they don't do that. You have to be there. So he promised that immediately after the Christmas holidays and the Christmas and New Year holidays, he will talk to a friend in Accra to check with the school whether my name was there. So the first weekday in January, he called and said, his friend had confirmed that my name was number 6 on the list there. So they were waiting for me. So on the 6th of January, 1995, I packed bag and baggage and left Obuasi to Accra to start school in Accra Academy. So that is how come I landed.
How long did you spend there?
It was a 2-year course, but I had already spent 6 years at home. So let's say I spent 1.5 years then. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When I went, they had already spent a couple of weeks studying, you know. So I joined in January instead of October. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You completed your A-level in 1996.
Yeah.
Okay. So now it seems that part of the hurdle has been cleared.
Yeah.
And now it's left for you to get a qualification. Or after A-level, could you have done any job with the certificate you got?
Sure. Okay. Back then, you could, even with the O-levels, back then you could get employment with your O-level certificate. So some of my colleagues couldn't continue to the A-levels. Okay. They continued from O-levels. Some went to the training college. Okay. Others also decided to gain employment. Some were with AGA, Anglo Gold Ashanti. Some became nurses, other professionals.
So at that time, what did you want to become?
Interestingly, when I was in the final year at Christ the King, let me tell you this story. I always loved to be a doctor, a medical doctor.
Okay.
Even in Queen Egyimah, I told myself I would be a medical doctor. Anytime anybody asks me, what would you want to do when you grow up? So I'll be a doctor. Okay. I used to say that a lot. And I had that consciousness still with me when I went to Christ the King Secondary School. I still wanted to be a doctor.
Okay.
First year, second year, third year, I was doing so well in the sciences. I wasn't too good with mathematics, though I could pass.
Okay.
I always scored an A in biology, scored an A in chemistry. And with the physics, it was either a B or a C. Because of the mathematics. Yes. So it wasn't too bad. I was still doing so well. Then surprise. When we got to Form 3 and we were getting into Form 4, the school announced that we were no longer going to do science. So you had to choose between business and then arts.
Okay.
It was another devastating blow. At that point, some of my colleagues left the school and went to other schools where they did science.
They can do their science.
But I stayed on. I don't know. At that time, I had become very comfortable. I said, well, let me stay on. And I decided to do arts. I was doing very well in the arts subjects. Very, very well. I mean, my mind had not been drawn to it yet. I was scoring very well in geography. I was doing very well in economics. I was doing very well in Bible knowledge. I was doing very well in literature, English language, and so on.
So that was when you started realizing?
Yes. So at that point, I said, oh, wow. Already I'm doing so well in the arts. Why not do arts?
Okay.
So that's how come I decided to do the arts and forgo the sciences.
Oh, okay.
So in Accra Academy, I continued with my arts. I studied government, geography, and then economics.
So then what was your new profession in mind?
In Accra Academy, I loved to write.
Okay.
I loved writing. So there was a magazine in Accra called Students' Filler. Oh, not a magazine, a newspaper.
Okay.
Students' Filler. It circulated only in the secondary schools in Accra. Students' Filler. They used to sell their newspaper in Accra Academy, and I wrote to them that I want to be their correspondent for Accra Academy.
Okay.
And they accepted it, so I was covering events in Accra Academy and then sending the stories to them.
Okay.
And they will publish the stories without any editing, which was quite surprising to me because I said, wow.
So if there are errors, they will publish with the errors?
The assumption is that there are no errors.
But you were a student then?
Yeah, I was a student, yes. But I could write so well. I could write so well. And they were surprised. So they gave me the right to sell their newspaper and then get a commission. So I was earning a commission whilst on campus. And then in the final year of CeSIS form, our headmaster also announced that we were going to have a school magazine. And I was appointed an editor of the school magazine as well. So we did so well, and then we launched the school magazine at our speech and prize giving day. Thankfully, I did the launch, and it was a major highlight of my life. You know, it was a big event, a huge event with all those dignitaries. Remember, is it Justice D.F. Annan, the late, Speaker of Parliament? He was there. Professor George Bene, I think the late, he was also there. And a few other dignitaries, the chiefs and people, huge gathering. I was a very withdrawn kind of person, right from secondary school, Christ the King, even up to Accra Academy. Very, very withdrawn. Two things happened in my final year in Accra Academy that shaped my life forever. One is the school magazine thing, which I was asked to launch. We finished all the work, put together all the stories. I had edited everything, and we did it over the vacation. So when we went back, I went to see the English tutor and told him that, yes, we have to launch the magazine at our speech and prize giving day. So he should give me a name of a prominent person who can do the launch, like we usually do. Then this man, immediately, he didn't even look into my face. He said, well, you do it yourself. I said, excuse me, I'm just a student. How can I launch a school magazine? And then he shot back, who says you can't? Go and write a speech and come and show it to me. It was a huge challenge for me. I had never been to any launch before. I didn't know how the speech was written. I didn't know even.
Going to be done.
So I had to put together something. I I had to write something and then show it to him. He was so impressed. He also didn't cross anything. He said, it's good. Go and read.
Wow.
So on that day, everybody was there and my name was called. I mounted the podium and then I read a speech. It was a speech which was, it was a very thoughtful speech, full of humor and very exhilarating, you know. So it could keep your interest till I finished. Okay. I mean, you will never feel bored. That's how I wrote it.
Okay.
So I remember when I finished, on the Monday when I went to class, my geography mistress, hey, stand up. So you can talk. You can talk, eh? So last Saturday you were talking, and when you come to class, you are so quiet. I mean, and the class burst out laughing. But that was me. The second incident that happened was, Accra Academy was invited to participate in a national quiz competition to commemorate the World Environment Day. And I was the vice president of the Environmental Society of Accra Academy. I remember we looked around to pick somebody who could represent the school. We searched and searched. Nobody was willing to do it. The time was so short, we had only 1 week to prepare. Nobody was willing to go. Then our patroness, one of our teachers who was our patron, she called me and said, well, I want you to go and do it. I've given your name to the headmaster already. Oh. No choice. I had to struggle and then do it. So we went, it was this Dana Fariabua, you know, that quiz they broadcast on GBC. Yeah. Accra Academy, Achimota School, Presec, and then St. Mary's. Okay. So round 1, we all got 0. Round 2, I was third. Okay. Third out of 4.
Why? Only one person from each school?
Yeah, one from each school.
Okay.
So I had to, they used me as a sacrifice, so I went. Then round 3, I topped. Okay. But the difference between myself and the second one was just 1 point. Okay. And then round 4, I answered almost all the questions. Okay. I had 31 points. And then the second person had 14 points.
That was a
17 points
gap.
difference. Yes.
Wow.
So people who knew me, I remember it came on live radio. Okay. So I came to Obuasi the weekend after. And people who met me, we heard you on radio, we heard you on radio, we heard you on radio.
By then, GBC was the only radio station.
Exactly. I remember Honorable Akon was hospitalized then. So he was listening on radio in the hospital. And he told me about it, you know. So these 2 events sort of built up a certain confidence in me.
And was then the time you learned or you realized that you could be a journalist?
Yes, yes. I think it was hidden in me. Okay. It had to take something to bring it out. Okay. So these 2 events actually told me that, look, you can reach for the stars. All right. You can become who you want to be. That was when I said, look, right from Accra Academy, I am going to journalism school to be a professional journalist.
Right from Accra Academy, he was going to the school to become a professional journalist. Let's go for a very short break. We'll be back soon. Welcome back to the Wundef Show. We are still here with Mr. Richard Kojo Ellimah. So after Form 5, after Accra Academy, A-level, you decided to go to the university. Yeah. Right after?
I decided to be a journalist.
To be a journalist?
Yes.
So whether it's university, you become a journalist?
The universities didn't have a first degree program in journalism.
Okay.
Yes. So I had to go to the Ghana Institute of Journalism.
Oh, okay.
So I came back, did my national service, and then bought the forms for GIJ.
After Accra Academy,
yes.
you came and did your national service.
National service
and
for
you
a
bought
year.
The forms for
for GIJ.
For GIJ.
Yeah,
okay.
That was 98. So
okay.
I was called for interview. I went and then I passed, and then I started school in October 98.
So how many years did you spend at GIJ?
2 years.
2 years for the diploma.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right after GIJ, you decided to. What are some of the radio stations you worked with at that time?
After GIJ. Okay, after first year in GIJ, I had to come and do attachment.
Okay.
And I came to Shaft FM.
All right.
In 98, they had just started.
Okay.
So I came to Shaft FM, served under the late Samuel Eni.
Oh, okay.
The former Ashanti Regional GGA chairman.
Yes.
Yeah, he was then the news editor.
Okay.
So I became more or less his assistant. And I did very well then. Learned the trade very well from him. And then I went back and wrote my final exam.
Okay.
And then graduated. After graduation, Samuel Eni was also leaving for Ash FM.
Okay.
So there was a vacancy for a news editor. So the general manager then implored on me to stay on and be the news editor, which I did. So from November 2000 till September 2001, I was a news editor for Shaft FM. Yes.
Okay.
And unfortunately, in 2001, I went back to KNUST, where I did a first degree in development planning.
Okay, development planning.
Yes.
I wanted to ask why you decided to go into development planning.
Yes, I will link it to the first question we started the interview with. I had become very conscious of issues of vulnerability, issues of development, participation of communities in development, in issues that affect them and so on.
All right.
I thought journalism would give me that space, that voice to speak out. But then I realized that I needed to be more equipped. Journalism had given me the instrument. I needed to build my capacity in the area of development, to understand the complexities of development. That is how come I decided to go and do development planning.
And how many years was that?
That was 4 years.
4 years.
I graduated in 2005.
So that was when it was after graduating that you started CeSIS, Center for Social
CeSIS was 2011.
2011.
Yeah. After graduation in 2005, I worked for Wakam for about 6 years. And then went back to school to do my master's in development planning and management, also at KNUST. And it was after that program in 2011, January 2011, that we decided to set up CeSIS, Center for Social Impact Studies.
What was the main motive for starting CeSIS then?
CeSIS started as a conversation between myself and about 4 of my colleagues. 3 of us were all working for Wakam back then. So we had a general experience of NGO work, community mobilization and so on. And in our work, we noticed that we had a problem with data collection, research. We did a lot of advocacy for Wakam. But then some of the advocacy we did lacked that basic, evidence to do the advocacy. There was something being bandied about called evidence-based advocacy. So we were discussing it, and then the thought came, why not set up an NGO that will focus on research? Research into the various development teams, come up with credible data that organizations like Wakam and other organizations can use to do the advocacy. So that was the thinking behind the establishment of CeSIS. It was supposed to be a research and advocacy organization.
So, sir, fighting for the vulnerable, it also means you are fighting against not only big companies, but also bigger individuals who are supporting these companies. And we know that there are times that politicians are always in favor of these companies because of the money they might be making from them. Are there times that in your quest to fight for the vulnerable, you clash or you have issues with politicians?
Yeah, certainly. Once you are working with communities, and it's more like you are fighting the system. And let's understand that there are some people who benefit from the system as it is. We talk of a broken system that keeps the vulnerable groups where they are.
Okay.
So once you want to fix that system, those who benefit from the system will fight you.
Oh, okay.
And if you also consider the fact that we have this extreme partisanship in this country, at some point in time, I mean, I have been labeled MPP or NDC,
okay,
depending on who is in power. And it's gotten to a point where I am even confused as to who I am. Because some say I am MPP, some
they
say
try
I'm
to
NDC.
determine even the party
Exactly,
you are.
exactly.
Okay.
But I am not so much interested in the political parties as I am in the kind of policies that they churn out.
Okay.
So, for instance, if we have the MPP in power, and which is a conservative party, a capitalist party, if they come up with a policy that I feel is inimical to the development of vulnerable groups in the country, I will speak out. And in speaking out, if I'm branded NDC, so be it. Similarly, if the NDC is in power and they come up with a policy that goes against the vulnerable groups, I will speak out. And then I am branded MPP. So it is not so much the political parties that I'm interested in. It is about the policies that they come up with and whether those policies are friendly to the vulnerable in society.
Okay, so do you remember any such instances where you spoke up against something and you were tagged anti a certain party?
Oh, several times, several times. But one incident is a very funny incident because I remember under the late Professor Mills, I wrote on Facebook. There was this news item on TV3 that the school for the deaf and dumb in one of the northern regions, their government subvention had not been paid. So I put it out on Facebook that, look, this is not the way to run a country. There are vulnerable groups. Government must make sure subventions are paid on time. In order not to jeopardize the lives of these vulnerable groups. And then a very well-known NDC sympathizer in town, went on Facebook and really gave it to me. He lambasted me and called me all kinds of names, And well, but I've come to accept it as, normal. Similarly, I have also made statements that tended to lean towards the NDC, and I have been branded NDC.
But did you have any political ambition? Maybe
never.
In the near future?
No. I mean, I'm not interested in politics one bit. I hold very strong political views, very, very strong political views. But I am not aligned to any political party in Ghana. No. My political party are the communities. My political party are the people I serve. They are more important to me than the petty politics that we play in this country.
So why were you a government appointee some time ago at the assembly?
Yes, that's an interesting question. I was far away in Australia when I got this WhatsApp message that I was being considered as a member of the government, as a government appointee to the Obuasi Municipal Assembly. Message
from who?
Under one official, one government official. That was under Kinzuba, the MC then.
Ajimambwedi.
Queen Egyimah, yes. So it took me a while for me to consider it because I knew the implications and what people would say. But then those I consulted, the strong view that was coming out was, well, this is an opportunity to serve your community. It is not a political appointee sort of. It's service to your municipality. That is one. Number two, Queen Egyimah had been my friend from way back 98 when both of us were at Shaft FM when it started. So we've been friends. So when he became MC, he had read about my work in the mining sector, the advocacy I was doing for the communities and so on. And remember that 2014, 2015, 2016, those were very critical periods for Obuasi because of the crisis at Anglogo. So he needed somebody with a background in mining to advise him. So that is how come he put my name on the government appointee list, and I became a member of the assembly. It had nothing whatsoever to do with my affiliation to the NDC.
Did it influence your work, or maybe later did it also affect your work?
Absolutely not. No, I spent about 1 year, just about 1 year and a few months at the assembly, before it was dissolved. And within that, the whole 1 year was like a learning curve for me. I was still learning about the assembly system. I had never been an assemblyman, so I was still learning about it. I chaired the development planning committee, and I put up a lot of proposals, but it was a very frustrating process, very, very frustrating. Coming from a civil society background, I knew how things were done. Okay. If you wanted a project to be done, you design your proposal, get the funding, get the plan in place, and then you go and implement it. Okay. Then you are done, Oh, okay. But then at the assembly, the development planning committee will meet, will talk about it, will come up with a plan, will forward it to the executive committee,
bureaucratic
executive committee, back to the General Assembly. Okay. Oh, they will approve it, but the money will never be released. Wow. So a lot of initiatives were, put forward during my tenure as the chairman, but none of it saw the light of day. But that is a system. And from with my background, it was a very frustrating process for me. And I don't think I could have stayed on for longer anyway.
Do you think it affected your relationship with the current government? Because you accepted...
I think so. Okay. Incidentally, some of these overzealous political hotheads, they think once I was a government appointee, then I must be NDC. Okay. And some made this very funny and silly comment on Facebook that, oh, you are even part of them. I mean, part of who? Is it part of the country, part of the state, or part of the party? Okay. I'm not an NDC. Even when I was appointed a government appointee, the NDC even protested. Okay. So I don't know where all these ideas are coming from, but I take it in my stride because I understand that a lot of these young guys who are on Facebook, who are defending politicians from both sides, they do not understand the ideological underpinnings of their own political parties. Okay. The MPP is conservative and capitalist. The NDC say they are social democrats. Those are their ideological underpinnings. Okay. In reality, what do? The MPP has been more social development friendly than the NDC, and the NDC has been more neoliberal than even the MPP. Check their history. And these are the confusion. And the youth who are here making all the noise do not understand these underpinnings. Okay. And they take pleasure in pigeonholing people. You make a comment and then they fix you in a box, and put you somewhere. You must be MPP, you must be NDC. As if that really matters. It doesn't. Telling me I'm NDC or MPP does not put food on the table of that disabled beggar on the street. Okay. It doesn't, assuage the pain of the poor and marginalized in the society. Okay. What matters is that I am more interested in assessing government policy, irrespective of which government is in power. Okay. If MPP is in power and they come up with a policy, I look at it from the point of view of its impact on the vulnerable in society. When a budget statement is read, I read the budget statement, I assess it, and I ask myself, how can this budget help the vulnerable in our society to also come up? Okay. So these are the things I look at, rather than the petty MPP, NDC stuff.
Speaking of what helps the vulnerable in the community, the Disability Act was passed some years ago, about 14 years now. Do you think enough has been done to really implement it, to make it work?
I don't think so. It's a fantastic law. Fantastic law. If you read it, it has all the provisions in it that are meant to make life comfortable for persons with disability. But then the implementation leaves much to be desired, And to make things even easier for our people, the law made room, gave a moratorium. Look, take 10 years to convert all public buildings into disability-friendly structures. 10 years. So after 2016, I was expecting that, by then that consciousness would have been there. A lot of our buildings would have become more disability-friendly. 2-3-story buildings would have either, installed lifts or handrails or whatever it is that can make, it easier for persons with disability to access. But unfortunately, 2016 came and went. We held a ceremony to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the Disability Act, but then, in reality, nothing much has happened. The condition of the person with disability now is not, it's not better. It's not better than it was.
When you visit hotels, when you want to access some structures, banks, and other offices, do you still struggle?
Two scenarios. I travel around the world a lot. I've gone to all the continents. I get invitations to attend conferences. When you are filling the form for the conference, they ask you, do you have a disability?
Okay.
So I tick the box, yes. After I have been accepted for the conference, somebody gets in touch with me via email or phone call. How can we help you?
Okay.
What is the nature of your disability? What can we do to make your stay here comfortable for you?
Okay.
Then we have a discussion.
Okay.
By the time I get to that country, everything is in place. Right from the airport. Right from the airport. Usually in some countries, like Australia, South Africa, they will require you to take the underground train to town, and then you continue to the hotel. They give you the direction.
Okay.
But in my case, there will be a hired car waiting for me at the airport. It will pick me up straight to the hotel.
Okay.
When I get to the hotel, usually arrangements would have been done already. I will either be put on the down floor where I do not have to climb any staircase, or I will be sited close to the elevator, the next room to the elevator.
So you just come
so
out
I
from
do
your
not
room.
need to, exactly.
You
I
don't
do
have
not
to
need
walk
to walk
long distance.
Long distance, yes. So 2015, for instance, when I went to Australia, I was on the 36th floor.
Okay.
But it didn't bother me because I was close to the elevator.
Oh, okay.
They made life comfortable for me. In class, initially the classroom was supposed to have been upstairs. But because I indicated I had a disability and I had a problem, they had to bring it downstairs to a room downstairs where I can easily access.
Okay.
Yes, that is one classic case of a country that has that self-consciousness, that has the plight of the vulnerable at heart, that implements social inclusion programs.
Okay.
Compare that to Ghana, my own country, Ghana. I have challenges when I have to visit some offices for business or for some official assignment. When I have to meet some ministers of state in this country, the staircases alone will discourage me from going. Because most of the times you will have to climb like 3-4 stories. Mostly the minister's office is located at the top floor. And you have to climb up. And I can't do that.
Without a lift?
Without a lift, yeah, that's a problem. A lot of ministries do not have lifts. 2, you go to hotels. They don't have that consciousness. Most of the hotels. I mean, if you go to a country with that consciousness, every hotel implements a social inclusion policy. So once you enter the reception, the receptionist doesn't have to ask you. They know your plight already. I do not have to ask you that put me on the down floor. I do not.
But in Ghana, do we have, when you are filling a hotel form, is there even a place for you to take that you have a disability?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of. So in most cases, I have to tell them that, look, I need a room downstairs. And in like 90% of cases, they will tell me, oh, all the rooms are filled. All the rooms downstairs are filled. And you have to go to the 3rd floor. Then I ask them, how do you expect me to climb up to the 3rd floor? Do you have a lift? They say, no.
Don't.
Then I ask them, will you carry me to the 4th floor or 3rd floor? They say, oh, sir, please exercise patience. I said, the patience I will exercise is that you put me on the down floor. That is the only patience I have. So sometimes it becomes a hassle. You know, I have to, back and forth, back and forth.
Now the act has been passed. It is whose duty to make sure that it is being implemented?
If you look at the act, there's the provision for the establishment of the National Council for Persons with Disability.
Is it at the national level?
Yes, at the national level. It's similar to Ghana Education Service or something, at that level, at the apex. Now, their duty, one of their duties is to serve as a regulatory body to ensure that the interests of persons with disability are protected. And by extension, things like access to public buildings, discrimination at the workplace because of person's disability and so on. All these things fall within their remit. But unfortunately, in my opinion, the council has been asleep.
Because I know hotels that were built lately, but still they don't have
these structures. Don't have all these lifts and so on. So the question I keep asking myself is, if I get to a hotel, I am denied a room downstairs, that hotel doesn't have a lift, and because of that I'm turned away. Do I have somebody I can call and make a complaint to so that the issue can be resolved. In countries like Australia, this will be a big offense, a huge offense. You dare not. You dare not. Because they've engrafted it into their national development planning process. And everybody in Australia understands these things. Even when they are constructing highways, the islands in that structure in the middle of the roads, they've for every few meters, they have to level it so that anybody with in a wheelchair can easily, crisscross and
even
move
at their
wherever
car
they want
parks,
to.
they have
every car park they reserved.
Yes,
every place is reserved. In their public buses, they have areas they have reserved for wheelchair users and so on. That is a country with that consciousness.
It's usually the first chair when you enter the bus, the first seat.
Yeah. In most advanced countries, we don't have that in Ghana here. Take the Kufuor buses. Recently, I sat in a program on Shaft Radio, and then somebody called in. I think the person uses a woman. She uses a wheelchair. And she was complaining that she was coming from Kumasi to Obuasi. She went to the Sprinter station, and they told her that they cannot carry her wheelchair. So she couldn't board the car. Why should that happen? Is she not Ghanaian? You see, we need to develop this country to the point where, irrespective of a person's disability status, they should be able to live a normal life.
Because we are all 5 seconds away from being disabled.
Exactly. That is what I keep telling people. I mean, right after this interview, you can be crossing the road and then a car will knock you down. Then the doctor will break the news to you. I'm sorry, you can't walk again. Then
what do?
You become like me.
And now you
so
begin to
how
face...
did you treat me? That is how you will also feel. So if we get that consciousness, then we all put our shoulders to the wheel and do everything we can to make persons with disability live as normal a life as possible.
Do you have plans of possibly starting something where the disabled people who are being maltreated could have justice?
Sure. Since I came back from Australia and having experienced how social inclusion is taken seriously over there, and comparing that to Ghana, I told the board of CeSIS that one of the key things we should be looking at is issues of disability. So we already have the blueprint that we want to work on. So it will start from
be part of CeSIS.
Looking at we wanted to. We've done all the paperwork. We want to start by doing a research into access to public basic schools by persons with disability.
Because where I'm teaching now,
when I talk of access, I'm looking at, can they easily walk in? Are there ramps? Do they have handrails? Do you organize classrooms downstairs because one of your pupils or students has a disability? Do we have that kind of system in place? We are looking at all that. And we want to do it in about 5 regions of Ghana. And then present the findings and then based on it make policy recommendations. So it's something that is seriously under consideration.
That's impressive. So have you ever been rejected any job because of your condition? That maybe they won't tell you, but you realize, no, this is the main reason why I wasn't given this job.
Well, I do not recall, but typically of Ghanaians, they will not let you, they will not let it be known to you. I mean, they will not articulate it to you that, look, we cannot give you this job because of your condition. They won't. They will give you all the very beautiful invectives and all that, and then later tell you that, we are sorry, the job has been filled. But then there's a particular interview I attended, and then it was quite an impressive interview. Then the last question was, do you drive? I said no.
But they knew
I think that killed it. I think so. That killed it. So these things do happen, and I wonder why that can be a conditionality. I mean, I'm coming to use my brain. I'm not coming to use my legs. So why can't people think deep than they do? So these things do happen.
Anyway, so the jobs of the 21st century, there have been reports that even in the big companies, tech companies in the US, some of them no more even checks your certificate again. They test your ability to do the work. Do you think that the courses we are now learning in our universities are preparing us enough for the future, for this 21st century, change of events, how technology is far advancing. Do you think that our universities are preparing us enough for this market or for the world to come? And if it isn't, what are the courses that are now selling much that the youth should go into?
Unfortunately for us, most of our courses are not. Okay, let me put it this way. We are behind time.
Okay.
Our educational system is far behind time.
Okay.
The world has moved on, and we are still struggling to catch up.
Okay.
So a lot of the courses in our universities are not well suited to the demands of the job market now. So I run an organization, and I engage a young graduate.
Okay.
He's graduated from the university about 3 years ago, general arts. Then I asked him to write a concept note, and he doesn't know what a concept note is.
Okay.
Another comes, can you write a memo?
He can't.
He doesn't even know what a memo is because he can't write it.
Okay.
And I'm talking about a first degree holder. A first degree holder.
Who cannot write a memo?
Who cannot write a memo or a concept note. Yes. So I have to teach them on the job. I have to show them that, look, if you want to write a memo, this is the format. And this is what goes into a memo.
Okay.
If you're writing a concept note, this is the structure.
Okay.
Introduction part and all that. All these areas have to be filled and all that. I have to teach them that.
Wow.
They were not taught in the classroom. So as an employer, I feel that the universities are not being fair to me.
Okay.
Somebody comes, pays for a course, you graduate the person, and I have to teach the person how to do their job. That is the reality we have in this country.
Okay.
I also graduated from a journalism school. When I came for attachment, the first task my boss asked me to do was to write a memo way back 1999 or so. And I had heard about what a memo was.
But you have never
And
written
we were supposed to have been taught how to write a memo.
Okay.
But the mistress who was supposed to teach her, the lecturer, was on maternity leave. And she was the only one who was going to teach us memo writing, feature writing, and all that stuff. So for a whole semester, we didn't learn that course.
Okay.
So when my boss asked me to write a memo, what did I do? I had to quickly go through the shelves and look at some old memos that had been
written before,
and then look at the format before I was able to write.
Okay.
That is the reality of our educational system. I think we need to shift attention to giving our students such competencies.
Okay.
Competencies that will enable them survive in this highly competitive world of work.
Okay.
So you get into courses, I think they need to focus more on tech courses, artificial intelligence.
Okay.
That is where the world is getting to.
Okay.
I myself,
Coding.
I think I'm even too old. I mean, too old in the system. A lot of the things I watch on TV and so on, I ask myself, oh, how the hell did this happen? And I don't know about it. I'm now learning a number of things now. The youth who are coming up who have competencies in technology, they are teaching me one or two things now, which I'm learning. And these are the things that should engage the youth of our time. They need to learn. Can we have a technology hub?
Isn't that a bigger problem? Because even from the basic schools, the integrated science we are teaching the kids is mostly theoretical.
Yeah.
We just go, we tell them this is an atom. And even now, the ICT we are learning at our basic schools.
And do you even have the computers in the first place?
Yes, and you have about 4 computers for kids of about 200 kids, and you have to be teaching them to pick up these things.
How do you teach ICT theoretically? Conceptually? How can it be conceptual?
And you see,
I mean, the computer must be there.
And I think COVID-19 has exposed our weaknesses because we wanted to do online lectures,
virtual lectures.
Kids. Yes, but these kids have not even sat before computers before. So how do you ask the GHS people to sit before the computer, even
log in and then go through the lessons? It has exposed us big time. So there's a lot that we need to learn, a lot. And my young cousin got admission to KNUST. She was given, I think she's a business student.
Okay.
But she was given some history and something to read. And she was so upset. So all I told her was, oh, don't worry about the course. You just get your first degree. Then think of the competencies for your master's. So now she's thinking of doing her master's in business administration, in either finance or accounting or HR or whatever. So that should be the mindset of our people. And we need a radical overhaul of our educational system. South Korea, Singapore, Malaysia, they've gotten to where they are because they reviewed their curriculum.
And do you think it's because we are politicizing our education? Somebody comes with 4 years, somebody comes with 3 years, someone comes with free education, somebody comes with quality education. Do you think maybe probably the politicization is affecting the way our education system is going on?
I'm not sure it is politicization. It's more of a lack of consensus on our national development planning system itself. How do we see Ghana in the next 50 years? There's no consensus. You talk to all the political actors, they have different ideas. So can we have a common framework, development framework, long-term development framework that every Ghanaian signs up to, that every Ghanaian understands that this country will be at this point in the next 20 years, in the next 50 years.
We want to become a big technological country, so
and this is what we have to do. A, B, C, D. And it should be so simple, and let's carve, you know, a phrase around it, you know, a slogan around it that people can easily buy into, and then let it be all over the place, and let every political actor buy into it. So irrespective of the political party in power, you know that you are in power to pursue this agenda and not your own party manifesto. Once we get that, I'm sure we'll be on our way to the much desired development.
We are coming to the end of the show, and I want to hear your last words.
I always struggle to give last words, but I will speak to the youth. They are the future. I mean, some years ago I thought I was the future, but before I could
realize you were the past.
Before I close my eyes and open it, I realize I'm in the present. So I'm no more the future. So they need to take life seriously. Life is not a joke. It is serious business.
You don't rehearse it and come back and do the original.
You commit certain errors in your youth and they stay with you forever. You miss certain opportunities in your youth and you will never get them again. So be careful the kind of steps you take. Number one, throw away that entitlement mentality. Nobody owes you a good life. Nobody owes you money. And nobody owes you a comfortable life. If you want to live comfortably, work for it. Work hard and develop the systems that will make you work, that will make you enjoy life comfortably. Get your education seriously. Pursue it to any level that your pocket can push you to. And be serious in life again. Number two, never ever give up. Life is not a bed of roses. We always encounter difficulties. There are challenges. If I tell you, the interview didn't permit us. If I tell you the challenges I had to endure, it was easy for me to have given up. And everybody would have said, oh, the why and why, it's okay, wherever you have gotten to, you've even done well. But I pushed beyond myself. I said, no, you push me down, I will dust myself, rise up again, and start walking. Push me again, I will dust myself and start walking again. No matter the number of times I have fallen, I have always been on my feet. And that is where I have gotten to where I am. If I felt comfortable lying down, I would have still been lying down and probably be a beggar on the streets. So take life seriously, throw away your entitlement mentality, and never give up in life. And with God on your side, you will always get to wherever you dream of getting to.
Thank you very much for coming on the Wundef Show, Mr. Richard Kojo Ellimah.
The pleasure is mine.
Thank you for watching today's edition of the Wundef Show. Join us again another time. Bye.